I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll, please.
Good morning. I'm Mary Jo.
Present.
Tom Butkey. John Tracy.
Here.
Andrew Rigel.
Present.
Lyle Lang.
Here.
Ken Bargander.
Here.
Russ Stauber.
Here.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Approval of minutes, item number 2 on the agenda from November 2nd, 2023 regular meeting. I have a motion, Tom? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Who's the second? Did I get a second? Sorry.
A second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion. Item number 3, identify potential conflicts of interest. Do we have any conflicts of interest? Any conflicts? Great, no conflicts. Item number 4, citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments? You can comment. Good morning. You can identify yourself and who you are and what you're talking about. That would be great. And Alex.
There we go. Back to camera again. Loving this. Hi, guys. Who doesn't know me? My name is Josh. I'm the owner of the Gray Dog Axe Throwing in Marshfield, Wisconsin. So I'm a new business. Giving an update, like events has happened. I've been open since October 15th or 21st, however you want to look at that point. Talking about some of the trials I went through, things I found out. One of the big things is that, we did start, a month and a half late. Excuse me a second, get up there. Things that I fell behind due to the grant. We weren't able to start building to the grant. But we got built going forward. One of the big obstacles I did was with Inspector Kilty. There was a lot of issues going on with that, professionalism, his, his suggestions versus what was required, that put us back a lot. A lot of things, one part caused me with a lot of confusion, for example, was the back door issue. So where our back doors to the parking lot, and there was a discrepancy between him and the person that's putting in the door that held up for a little while. What was legal, what was not legal, what was code, what was not code. This is just a door. So this door ended up costing me over $3,000 for stepping and to fixing, because there was no clarification from the city versus what the reality of what this back door should be. So in the long run short, it was just a door. It's not an emergency door. It's not an exit door. It's not an entrance door. It's just a door. And that's what we're expecting to, is just a door. So then we built something else that went in front of it because we thought it was just a door and I was going to use it for deliveries. That turned into a bigger deal to where it has to have a platform and steps and things of that nature, and everything had to be set right. So that's what also put us back behind there. Excuse me a second. Give it a thing. Going from there, just as a little unprofessionalism comments of what, again, back to suggestions, what is suggestions and what is legal code, set us back up from anything from decorate or how we had certain things to walls or the floor, this and that. It got very confusing. But anyways, we opened up. So finally, after opening up, one things we're trying to figure out too is not really familiar with any permits. I need a permit to hang one sign, but apparently I was told if I have one sign, since I have two doors, I have to have two signs. So then I need 2 permits for 2 signs, and anything I hold outside the building, I need a permit for. I need a permit for this, permit for that, permit for this. It's crazy. The back parking lot is a city parking lot to it. I'm still trying to learn what's going on with the city parking lot, what the city's responsible for, what's I'm responsible for. One of the other big challenges of finding out is now is winter. It did snow, and I noticed that this parking lot just had a path through that was plowed out, but none of the parking lot was plowed out. So, understanding when that's going to happen, who's responsible for plowing out the parking lot, would also be actually really helpful on that part. What else are we going here? Don't get me wrong, this is not a whole complaint session. You know, the city has done some amazing things, and I'm very well for it. So one thing, organization I'm passionate about is the chamber. So the chamber is what I'm looking forward to doing is for directions. And I understand the chamber is here to help businesses out, help promote, help do whatever it can for the community. And that's huge for me. That's huge. I've belonged to other chambers, worked with other chambers. And I understand this is a smaller chamber, or younger chamber, for example. And I'm trying to find out how the city chamber is supposed to help small businesses. There's a lot of things I don't see. I've compared it to other chambers I've been part of and have been very active inside of it. And a lot of them I'm noticing too is like this chamber doesn't really do much for promotion of businesses or identifying new ones or identifying, how do I phrase it? Not really identifying, more of taking people or the public and saying, this is your new business, let's promote this business this month or this month there. And it's not identifying and single out everything else. I notice my conversation with this chamber is mainly about all businesses. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a business owner. I will support all businesses, but chamber members are chamber members. And chamber members are support chamber members. We're not here to support everybody. Becoming a chamber member is supposed to be more of an honor, more of like, we're part of this chamber, we do more for the community, we volunteer for the community, we help each other out. You're a chamber member. I'm going to support your business versus any other business because you are a chamber member. I'm not seeing that really with this chamber. I know a lot of them. Don't get me wrong, people are really nice. They're grateful and they're trying to figure things out from my understanding. It's just that they're more of an all-come-some. Since that happens, then what's my point of even joining the chamber? If they're going to include me no matter what, what's the point of even doing it? So why am I going to pay my $278 for something that everybody gets? Everybody gets this, everybody gets that, everybody gets this. And that's how I've been seeing it lately. I'm also seeing that, I know a lot of these events, they're held, wine walk and beer walk and things like that, and great fun. And don't get me wrong, they did bring people to my business, great. But I'm noticing there's a lot of expense to it. Our purchasing. Now, they'll purchase things for other businesses, but not for people with licenses. And they're trying to use some legality laws, and I'm not understanding which legality laws those are. The other chamber members, other chambers I've belonged to have included those, have purchased. Like, you want to do this? The wine walk, for example, the chamber will give you 5 bottles of wine or buy 5 bottles of wine from you, and then you can get rid of those, and you can do what you want after that. And that's pretty much how the other chambers were. This one just not going for that, which adds expense. So my expense for each one has been about $300 to $400 of expense for this, just to be part of it. Yes, I want to be part of it. Yes, I know the traffic as well. Yes, I want people in my business. But as another added to the $278 that my membership fee costs, the people's entry fees that cost, sorry about that. And then on top of that, the $400 of investments. Oh, it's always investing on my part to promote my part. Again, why am I promoting myself with this stuff? I could just do it. And people, could get local. We did too for Halloween. Some local businesses got together and promoted each other. That was in chamber when everything went just fine. And it cost me nearly as much as this did. So I would like to see more from the chamber. I would like to see more from the city of involvement of promoting these new small businesses, promoting the businesses. The challenges of the city is a lack of communication, a lack exactly for the city inspector wanted. That was the challenges of what he wanted to do, what he was looking for. I mean, it all came down to it. And to be honest, the last thing that he suggested to me was I need an exit sign for the blind. There was no list. There was nothing there. That was the one thing that held me up. Thank God Menards had him on clearance aisle that they were getting rid of. Otherwise, nobody in this town had an exit sign for the blind. Never heard of it. But that was the last thing I needed. Again, there was no communication on the part. There was lots of lack of communication with this building this one. Going forward, we are looking at, me and another person are looking at building 2 very, very large complexes in Marshfield. We're deciding we want to build in Marshfield or on the edge of Marshfield due to the reason, the fact that we don't want to deal with this person ever again. It was chaotic. It was a hassle. And we want to keep promoting Marshfield. We want to keep building in Marshfield. We want to bring more people to Marshfield. That's our main point agenda. And if we keep getting pushed back from that part of it, we'll look at a different location. Again, I do thank everybody else. I do think the ones who have helped me, the ones who have supported businesses, the ones who have made easier things to happen in this town. And we will continue to support Marshfield at every aspect we possibly can. But on that, in closing, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
That's a question.
Yes.
Josh?
Yeah.
Thanks for making the presentation. You've got good audience here. Steve Barb, City Administrator, has been taking some notes regarding the first two items you mentioned, the inspection process and parking lot. Jim Rasmussen heads up the street department, and I think he's very responsive, so we'll get some communication to you and clarity there. Which other chambers do you compare the Marshfield Chamber to, just for reference?
We got Taylor County Chamber, Phillips Chamber, and then there was one of Merrill, was it Phillips, Merrill Chamber? It was three of them. It was Prentice, Phillips,
Lincoln.
Taylor County, Chippewa, that was the other one.
Okay,
So
that might be helpful. And sometimes we share notes, to find out what they're doing, and we could do better.
well, one of the things I looked at too is like if you go on the event calendar of the chamber, you'll see anything. You'll see one event, maybe two events. I think the last one I saw was in February for a whiskey and wine in February. Compare that to the other chamber, and my dear heart with the Medford Chamber, don't get me wrong, they're a young one too, but they have done so much. Let me explain what they've done. For example, we have ambassadors. Every business and every business or management becomes an ambassador if they want to, out of 300 some members. Every month there's a meeting. During that meeting, they talk about what's going on, what they need volunteers for, what events are coming up, things of that nature. After that meeting for the ambassadors, it is customary because lunch is provided by the chamber. Then they take the ambassador and we have to do something called a cash mob. During the cash mob, we go to any business the chamber picks secretly, randomly. We meet there secretly, do a big cash mob, surprise the business, spend money. Each person's got to spend a minimum of $20 when we pay back to lunch. And we do that for promoting. We take pictures of it. It's promoted in newspapers, promoted on Facebook, it's promoted however they want to promote it. That's one. The other chamber also does a lot of fundraising for the city, find events for the city, participates in other businesses, has meetings at area businesses at least once a month. So, there's no favoritism among businesses. And these people, since it's Taylor County, these people travel sometimes 45 minutes to a different business of that county because they're chamber members. When you call the chamber and ask them for a question or reference of a business, they can give you an answer because every chamber member there knows every business in that area and what they do. I tried doing that here once this summer before construction even began. I got dead-ended. It was, we'll call you back. We don't know, we'll call you back. And it sometimes took 2 to 3 days to find out an answer. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, the chamber does a Halloween thing for the kids, Spooky Path. They do that. They do the fireworks for Christmas. They do so much. There's so many chamber events that take part of from there. And usually between there and Phillips is one of the 2 big ones I did. And there's full of events, full of volunteers. And then going forward in summer, like starting February, they start planning for their big person that's going to be coming to, it's like music in the park, but oh my God, I forgot what it's called now. Just said last year. So the big band member comes in, they bring money in, local businesses support it. We get a big stage, we do food courts, we do prizes, beer things, just big party. Everybody comes. An average attendance is about 4,000, 5,000 people for a tiny town of Medford. And not only that, they do other things too, from golf tournaments to Spooky Path to just look at their chamber page. They do a lot. They do a lot more in community than I've seen in any other businesses. This one has potential to do it. I'm seeing that, but when I have these meetings with them, I feel a lot of resistance to what used to be the old ways. This is how we used to do it. I understand they're ambassadors, wear red coats and everything else. Good for you. Ambassadors should be a normal person that should go to businesses to promote other chamber members. And that was always ingrained that you support a chamber member before you support another business. because they took the initiative to pay that fee to participate in certain things. Therefore, you will support that first. And I truly believe that.
Okay, thanks, and glad you're here. Marshfield.
Thank you. It'll be a good time.
And hopefully you'll build your new building here in Marshfield and not on the outskirts. Anyone else have comments? I think it's important that we hear back from the businesses. It's kind of like a customer satisfaction survey on how we did. If there's things that we can do as a city to make it more welcoming and better, I think we need to take those and improve on those. So that's how we get more people to come to Marshfield and develop. Okay. Item 5, chairperson's comments. I have nothing other than Merry Christmas to everyone. I know we want to keep this meeting going. So, item 6, board member comments. Any comments from the board? Going once, going twice, not sold? Okay. Item number 7, update on 205 Fund Economic Development balance sheet. Steve, that's you.
Thank you. You have an update in your packet. There is some activity showing decreasing the fund balance to around $1 million. I apologize. I meant to check it before this. I assume some of that is just basically normal activity. Some of the payments we make different times of the year for commitment from our budget to Mackey, Main Street, other activities. I'm not aware of anything out of the ordinary, but I will check and follow up with an email. But the current balance as of the end of November is right touching on $1 million in that fund. So, I mean, like I said, I'll follow up with an email to you in terms of that $1,000 reduction, but I'm not aware of anything that was abnormal for making the payments that we normally would make for some of our budget items.
Thank you. Any questions for Steve?
Do you need a motion to receive and place on file, or?
I don't think you need one. We don't always necessarily have that. Just it's an update.
Anything else? No. Item number 8, update on 2024 grant funding awards through Wood County.
Thank you. I had reached out at the beginning of this week to a county representative just to verify that if you remember the process, again, the SEED committee initially made allocations. The operations committee sent it back to SEED saying, look, you need to trim this back. Initially from the $1.1 million, the SEED committee, I think, approved 600 and some thousand. And the operations committee said it really needs to be closer to 400. So it's been reduced to 432. The city's allocation for direct grant applications, you've got that in your packet, is $42,500 for 3 of our 8 applications. And I'm hopeful that made it through the process. The county board adopted its budget 2 weeks ago. I've heard nothing to suggest that any of these were cut any further, but I am still verifying that. So hopefully those $42,000 remain in the budget for our use. The 3 projects, one of which you'll hear later today in this meeting, is the pickleball courts. Another one is for Wenzel Family Plaza restrooms, that project, and then the remainder for historic district signs and brochures from the Historic Preservation Commission. So at least we were able to get some of the funding we requested.
Thank you, Steve. All right. Any questions for Steve on that? Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Item number 9, update fundraising campaign and construction of pickleball courts. And Justin isn't present, so welcome. Everyone should have a little packet she brought. And if you need additional ones, they're up there on the table. And I believe Andrew and Ken, you got them scanned and emailed to you. So welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, and I'm Michelle Bornke, and I know a lot of you here, but some of you I do not know. I am recently retired as of last year from the UW. I was the campus exec, and I did present to the Common Council and was with others asking for money. I feel like I'm always here visiting you when we're asking for funding. But this is great that you invited us to come in and talk about the pickleball fundraising campaign. And with me, I brought our guest, Perry Stargart. He is our chair, or president, I should say, of our pickleball community group. And it's not a club, it's the Marshfield area pickleball community. And we did form a board in September, just to give you a quick background in case you're not familiar with everything pickleball like we are. But I'm the fundraising chair or committee chair, also on the board. So we formed a board, there's 7 of us, and we started this campaign for 12 outdoor dedicated pickleball complex at Brain Park. And we're working with Justin at the Park and Rec Department, and we got approval by their board and then also from Common Council to fundraise for the pickleball courts. And Perry's going to talk a little bit about, well, everything about pickleball, why there's a need for pickleball, but also pickleball courts versus pickleball courts. This is a pickleball complex and what that's going to do for the city of Marshfield and why we're here today. And then I'll come back and give you an update with how the campaign's doing. But if Perry can give us an update as to why pickleball courts and how that's going to impact our community and even our businesses, like you were just talking about.
All right. We kind of started this rolling about a year and a half ago, and they were actually talking about getting the pickleball courts built this last spring, but of course funding was an issue. As it's turning out, that's probably been a benefit. Michelle came to me and said, Perry, we can do funding. We can get these pickleball courts built. Here we are a year and a half later, and now the pickleball courts that we're talking here in Marshfield, top of the line. So I say it's probably been a blessing that we did delay this. I played pickleball in the area, played over at Eau Claire, Plover, Wausau, played at all them courts. The courts we're building here in Marshfield, if not the top in the state, darn close to the top in the state. And what can that do for Marshfield? We already talking about running tournaments here in town, bringing people in for tournaments. You're getting 200-300 people to come to these tournaments. Pickleball is growing. It's everywhere you go down south. I go down south for 2 months. It's pickleball. Community, social-wise. It is such a social sport. It's meeting people. It's having friends with people. That's pickleball. Like I say, here at Marshfield, we'll be running tournaments. Our goal is, and the bottom line is actually have Badger State games here in the summer. Again, we're going to have some of the best courts around. We're talking with the Marshfield Clinic. Unfortunately, they are having financial issues right now, but they thought, wow, here's a thing we can do to our doctors to promote doctors coming to town and keeping doctors in town is pickleball, because it is such a growing sport. It's been growing 25% for the last 5 years. Here in Marshfield, we're seeing the same growth. They say we started out playing at the old Armory, inside the old Armory. Then we went to Oak Street, outgrew that. This last summer, Marlis Trudeau was able to get us into the middle school. So we would go there every morning, set up 8 portable courts, and then take them down at the end of the day. We were filling that up. These 12 courts that we're getting will be filled up. Us just going and talking about it and going out to the community and talking to people on this, everyone is showing interest in coming and playing and trying it and see what it's like. Everybody can play pickleball. I go with my wife. It doesn't matter your age. We have a 12-year-old all the way up to a 90-year-old that plays pickleball. Being in the pickleball community and playing with players throughout the area, building these courts, you're going to draw people from all over. They're going to want to come to these courts because of what we're doing here in Marshfield. So I appreciate everything that you guys have done to help us get there.
So regarding the campaign, we have been reaching out to, if you look at the sheet here, we actually have 2 sets of donor materials. We have one set that starts at $100 all the way up to $5,000 for like our club individuals, people such as that, possible donors. But then when we visit our community businesses, larger corporations, or maybe even the clubs, we just went to Kiwanis yesterday. We've visited with Rotary. So we're making the rounds. If you know anyone or anybody, just let us know and we'll give them a presentation or we'll meet them individually. And obviously, we've visited with our typical donors in our community. If you look at the fundraising, not to go through all of it, but there's different levels of contributions. And we have about 5 businesses that are considering the golden pickle. There is such a thing in pickleball. It means when you basically lose 0 to 11. I have been pickled before, just so you know, I'm a new person in this. But so the golden pickle, there's 4 courts to be named. And then we, you can see on here, we had the overall naming of the complex that has been taken. A lot of our benches have been taken. We met with Justin just last week. We are getting a lot of donors that are interested in that. We keep running out. So we're like, can we get 2 more benches? The shade structures are all taken. So we do have those lower level that you typically have. So it's going quite well. Our overall goal was $300,000. With our board, it's obviously more than that because we do have the community foundation that's what we're working with, similar to when you did Van de Hay Waters. So all the donations and their work is a 2%. So we have to make sure we cover that. Plus, we want to make raise enough money over the $300,000 to start a sustaining fund. Because it's one thing to build it, and then we were like, okay, city, you have to take care of it. We want to be invested in this forever. Because we foresee pickleball not going away. It's going to be something that we're investing in. It's an asset for the community and also for our group as well. So we want to make sure we have sustaining funds so that we can have free youth tournaments, free youth play, but also so we can replace the nets. We can replace things that maybe the Park and Rec department doesn't have funding for. Or if we want to have electricity, that's in the plan to put the electrical in, but maybe down the road when we fundraise, we can actually have lights. Why don't we do that right away? So our goal actually is to exceed the 300. Right now, we're just over half. Actually, we have 2/3 of the 300,000 raised. But again, we want to raise 350 to 400,000. We want to have enough so that we can have a fund at the community foundation that's going to support this for years to come. So just to go on what Perry was saying about what's the economic development? How is this going to impact other businesses and the community? Is I'm new to pickleball, but now already I'm addicted to it. But my family, when we go and we visit other communities, if they don't have pickleball, we don't stay there. It really is that, I mean, that seems silly, but what are we going to do at night? How do we meet other people? How do we find out what restaurants should we go to? We go that afternoon, we'll go and play pickleball, and we just automatically have 20, 30 friends because you play somebody different. And while we're playing, we're like, hey, we're just staying for the weekend. Where should we go and eat? What is there to do in Hayward, Wisconsin? What is there to do in Dubuque? And that's how, if there's not pickleball, we don't stay there. So if we were visiting central Wisconsin for whatever reason, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't stay here because there isn't pickleball courts. And we mean a lot of pickleball courts because when you have not just 2 or 4 or whatever, there's a site that you can go to that tells you it's free, it's public, it's dedicated. That means you can go at any time and play. And it's not like you don't have to worry about the school, parking in the school parking lot. You don't have to worry about it being at a golf course and you have to be a member. So this will be a definite asset and bringing in people from all over the state and even out of state, because that's what we do now when we stay, and tournaments as well. We want to stay multiple nights. And then if we stay, what else is there to do? Maybe I can throw an axe, which I have yet to try. That would be dangerous, would be throwing an axe, but I'm game. So that's, any questions? That's kind of anything else you have to say?
I guess even on our pickleball site, we have a Marshfield pickleball site on Facebook. Right now, we're sitting with 500 members on that site, and it's continuing to grow. That's where people contact us. They want to know, okay, where can we go to play pickleball? That's where they contact us. We get, during the summer, you get 2, 3 a week where people say, hey, where you guys play pickleball in town? And we let them know. And having, like, say, dedicated courts where it's already set up, that's where the dream comes true, because right now, where it was like, well, you can come to the middle school, but you have to set up the nets and do all. Having this as a dedicated, and even the youth, to bringing the younger crowd into it, it's already set up. It's there. It's at Brain Park. I say you're talking. You have the skateboard park there. My granddaughters play softball there. They're 7, 8 years old, and we got 90-year-old pickleball players. It's going to be a great facility where you have every generation there at the park. Like I say, what I heard, the complaint is we don't know if we're going to have enough parking. What a problem. Parking at a park. That's fantastic.
Wonderful. Any questions? I would like to make a motion that EDB gives $50,000 to the pickleball group. Can we do that?
I don't think it's on our agenda.
Okay, so can we get it on our agenda next time? I appreciate them coming and talking to get us the information that we need to make that decision. So then I'll work with Steve to on the agenda for next time. Okay.
And if you have questions or you want to try pickleball, just call us. We just presented to Kiwanis. And last night, Keith and I, my husband, we had a Kiwanis member actually find us and said, I want to play, I'm taking you up. So there's your call to action too, that you got to try this. Yeah. You will definitely love it. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Perry. Appreciate it. Item number 10, presentation from REDI Activity Dashboard. Kayla?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me attend your meeting today. I am going to be displaying a website. I saw it up previously. Is it on here or, okay, I'll let you do it.
Yeah.
Sure, of course.
And for us that don't know, you just say who you are and where you're from.
All right, let's try this. Oh, there we go. I'm really short, so I gotta put it down. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kayla Rumbalski. I am the Extension Wood County Community Development Educator. So I'm an employee of UW-Madison, but I work very, very closely with the county. Jason Greenberg and I are cohorts in planning and zoning. I work very closely with Jason on the economic development strategy for Wood County. So I wanted to take the time today to present something that we've been working on with regard to the READY plan. And let me start by kind of giving everyone a foundation of what that READY plan is. I know some of the folks in the room were involved in that plan when it was created, and others may not understand what it is. So READY stands for Rural Economic Development Initiative. This is a document, a strategic plan that came through and was approved by the county board in April of 2021. And then shortly after that, my predecessor, who did a lot of the work on the plan, actually left the position, and it was vacant for a while. Planning and zoning is an incredibly busy office, and so Jason did not have the capacity really to continue the movement and momentum on that plan. So after I started, we really tried to pick up where my predecessor in Extension left off. So the plan was essentially Wood County's very first economic development strategy. It outlined a number of different priorities for the county. And we are now moving those priorities forward and working as a team to really bring that plan to life. So this is something that continues to evolve over time, but we have a lot of community stakeholders that are involved in this effort. So it results in a lot of meetings. And so we want to be transparent and allow folks who are not attending the meetings regularly to know what's happening and what's going on. So we've created this READY activity dashboard. It is still under construction. It's a brand new site. So certainly if you have feedback or suggestions for us, please let us know. But when you go to this site, you can see the plan in its complete form. So it's 37 pages and includes a lot of demographic data and economic analysis for Wood County, and then goes on to get to the goals. And so here are those goals that I've mentioned. The plan identified really those two overarching focuses, which was to develop a diverse and sustainable economy and to establish a vibrant and diverse community in which to live, work, grow, and play. And that really shakes out into 5 key areas. And those are, Forgive me as I try to scroll up here. Those are an economic development group for the county. We call that our Ready Roundtable. Broadband focus group, entrepreneurship focus group, housing and community marketing, and recreational infrastructure group. And then in addition, since COVID, we have seen that childcare has really become a prominent need in our community. So childcare was not part of the original Ready plan, but we have seen from counterparts across the state and across the nation, and just from the data, that childcare is an economic development concern. It certainly is related to workforce development, and so we've added that into this plan. So to view progress on each of these, or to see, maybe you're curious what's going on in broadband, there's some work being done across the county right now, and particularly looking at town of Lincoln, just outside of Marshfield. If you're curious to know what's happening there, you can click on broadband. You can see the meeting frequency, so the dates that are coming up. You can click and see the minutes of the last meeting, which will give you an update on the progress of, giving it just a second to load here. So you can see who attended. You can see the progress of that Capital Projects Fund infrastructure grant, which is what I was just talking about with the town of Lincoln. You can see the update on the Wood County Broadband Plan, which is being developed with help from the Regional Planning Commission, and more. So really the purpose of this dashboard is to try to be as transparent as possible and give you the opportunity to see all of the necessary information related to each of these groups really at a glance. I'm seeing in testing that this blank for group roster shows up on our end, but here it says sign into your Google account. So we'll fix that. But if you were to click on this, you would see the roster of everyone who's involved in this team. So I clicked on entrepreneurial ecosystem. And then in addition, I won't sign in now, it might take too much time, but this is really, I think, one of the most beneficial parts of the website is this goal progress section. So in the original plan, it outlined, just as any strategic plan does, the objectives and then the strategies underneath those objectives and the action steps to get to that goal completion. And so we actually have a tracking chart that shows what is in progress, what is completed, what has not been started, and in some cases, what is no longer relevant or what needs to be added in. And so by looking down here at goal progress, that will show the work that the team is doing, particularly for entrepreneurial ecosystem. Excuse me, there are not meetings for 2024 set yet. They meet next week, and we'll be setting that calendar, but there's a lot of activity happening with regards to entrepreneurship in the county, and that progress can be seen right here on this website. So in closing, just an invitation to everyone here who's interested and would like to join our efforts. The meetings are posted right here, so you can see all of the meetings at a glance. I'll quickly just run through the different topic areas. So Ready Roundtable, as I said, is that economic development group. It's sort of, if you picture it as a county board or a city common council structure, Ready Roundtable is going to be the board or the council. So it's what all of these sub-implementation teams feed up into. So at the Ready Roundtable, there are updates from each of the teams, and that meets bi-monthly. There's a Broadband and Digital Equity Steering Committee. I mentioned that, meeting monthly in 2024. That Childcare Task Force is working on a number of different grant and funding applications. So currently has an ARPA committee request, or an ARPA funding request out to the ad hoc committee for ARPA, as well as was approved for funding through the Department of Children and Families for a Dream Up grant. So they're working on those actions, which really help to advance childcare access and affordability in Wood County. Entrepreneurial ecosystem, again, working on a number of things related to entrepreneurship. Looking at bringing in a outside facilitated process called Homegrown to really look at and identify where gaps are related to entrepreneurship. So how can we be better supporting entrepreneurs in our community? And some of the things that Josh and other business owners have brought up certainly fits well within that committee to know what entrepreneurs need and how we can provide it in Wood County as a whole, but then also in all of our communities within the county. And then Housing Task Force. So they are actually working on potentially planning a housing summit in the spring that will be attended by local legislators and would talk about how to incentivize housing and how to make some changes perhaps to zoning and ordinances that makes it easier for housing developments to happen. And then the last one, as if that wasn't enough already, is marketing and outdoor recreational infrastructure. This team has yet to launch. They will be launching in 2024. So in total, across all of those teams, I just ran the numbers before I came up, there are more than 145 people involved in this effort. Some of those folks, like Karen from the Chamber, Denise from the Chamber, are involved in multiple teams. I believe Karen actually has a hand in each one of these. So special shout out to Karen for her work. But it's an engaging effort, it's ongoing, and it's really designed to bring this plan that is a paper document off of the shelf and be lived and utilized in Wood County. Any questions?
Any questions, anyone?
I have a few.
Okay.
Thanks for the presentation. You've got a lot on your plate, very broad and diverse. So you're funded by the University of Wisconsin. Is that your funding source?
My position, yeah. I am dual funded between the county and UW. So the majority of my funding comes from the county. I have a contract with the county, as other extension educators do. The remainder of it comes from the state.
Okay. Nice to see the goals laid out like that. In your estimation, how successful have you been so far in attaining the goals? Where are you at, 10%, 50%, 90%? How would you quantify that?
That's a great question. With many of these teams, we are just on the front end of that goal progress. We're really in the identification and gap analysis stage. So looking at the goals that were laid out in 2021, realizing that even as the plan was being created, a pandemic was happening that greatly altered much of our economic development strategy and our world in general. So making sure those teams are really starting by making sure that the plan is still relevant and analyzing what's missing. In many cases, that foundation has been set and now we're moving forward, but we haven't actually gotten very far on the goal progress yet. I would say for each of them, the first goal, as it was laid out in the plan, was to create this subcommittee. So the subcommittees are created. That's one easy check mark off the list. So probably to answer your question, like 15 to 20% of the way there, but there's a lot of work yet to come.
Okay, and final question. Thanks again for making the presentation.
Yeah.
How do you, with your limited time, how do you interact with all these different economic development efforts throughout the county? I mean, how do you, is it in-person presentations like this? Or are you sitting in on meetings, or how does it all tie together?
Great question. So it's attending these meetings as a facilitator. My goal, so it's taken a little bit more hand-holding, if you will, a little bit more facilitation efforts up front to get these groups launched. My goal and Jason's goal is to, as time goes on, each of these groups has a lead that is not me, someone who's coordinating and responsible for keeping them moving. In the future, I think those leads will really run the groups independently. They will feed up to that Ready Roundtable that I mentioned earlier. We will be responsible for goal progress, so actually tracking the percentage of activity that's being done, for updating this website and for continuing to move things forward, but from a more macro level rather than, in the weeds, which is where we are right now. So that's kind of the first part of that question. I would say to the second part, everything that we do is hybrid. So we've been very intentional about making sure that these groups are accessible to anyone, regardless of where they are in the county. With that Ready Roundtable, we transition back and forth between North and South Wood for our location. And so we do have the folks that are attending both in person and virtually, but we always want to offer that virtual option so that distance is never a factor in someone not coming. And then, it's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of face-to-face, but it's been really great because once you get those, sometimes the impact, right, comes from the meeting before and after the actual meeting. So just getting all of those key players in a room together sometimes is really helpful to keep momentum moving. So for example, I'm going to call out Nikki. So the marketing team and the outdoor recreational infrastructure team has not yet met, but at a recent Ready Roundtable, there were a couple of folks in the room who are interested in moving that group forward and started to have some side conversations about how they're planning to move forward. So that group, although it's not formalized, is having some activity. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
I know that was a long answer.
And
okay.
Just one final thought for Mr. Varg is that we're close to hiring a new assistant city administrator, community development director. And if you're forming a interview committee, Kayla would be a good candidate, I think, to help out with that. Just bring that perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, being a county board member, and Kayla, I don't want to say answers to our seat committee, but she's there.
We do.
She's amazing, as you can just tell, full of energy, a lot of great ideas. So she does an amazing job.
Thank you.
One thing maybe it's not on the agenda, but you want to talk about quickly, clean sweep?
Sure.
I pushed for that because I believe it was 1 year, it was clean sweep was in the Rapids area one time it was here. And now we're going to have it in Marshfield too.
Yes.
Just briefly, if you can.
Yeah, of course. So clean sweep is kind of an oddball for my position. I have no background in household hazardous waste or agricultural waste disposal. I've learned a lot in my year and a half in the position. Clean sweep is a DATCAP, Department of Agriculture and Consumer Protection, funded program for household hazardous waste disposal and agricultural waste disposal in the county. Previously, historically, it has always been held once a year and alternates between Northwood and Southwood. So in Marshfield, previously it was at the fairgrounds. The past couple of years, it's been at Mars, the agricultural research station. Even though that facility is no longer an active research facility, they still have some grazing operations happening out of there, but we still are able to have the event there, and it works out well because it's a really nice space for the logistics of the event. And then in Wisconsin Rapids, it's held at the Saratoga Town Hall. And just since my starting with extension and being in the role, each year we would have a number of phone calls and residents who were upset because they were Marshfield residents and they didn't want to drive all the way down to Rapids for the disposal program. And also maybe they're calling in April, May, because they're cleaning out their garage and they have all this, these garden pesticides, for example, but they don't want to wait to dispose of them until September, when the event typically is held. For non-clean sweep disposal options, often it involves an out-of-county trip, so either to Portage County Solid Waste Recycling or Marathon County Solid Waste Recycling, which then results in an out-of-county fee. So I was feeling a little bit plagued on my conscience by having to tell, these little old ladies in some cases who are calling that they have to, that pesticide may have been in their garage for 30 years, but now I know about it and they're sitting on it for another 6 months. And so I'm thinking like, oh gosh, I hope that doesn't, I hope it's stored properly. I hope all of these things. So with the support and guidance of the SEED committee, we have actually made the decision to offer 2 clean sweep events moving forward. We're kind of starting it as a pilot program to see how much attraction it has, and then hopefully we'll be able to continue that into the future. So we will have a clean sweep here in Marshfield. It is May 25th. That's a Saturday from 8 to noon. And then we will be back in the town of Saratoga September 7th. I have a calendar in front of me. Yes, Saturday, September 7th, in the town of Saratoga and Wisconsin Rapids. So our hope is that by offering that event 2 times a year, it reduces the number of people having to travel out of county to dispose of those hazardous wastes. It also reduces the likelihood that people will become frustrated and just throw it in the regular trash. And this is a much safer and much more environmentally friendly way to dispose of wastes. Thank you, Tom, for the opportunity to talk about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you want me to stop the share? Okay, perfect.
Up next is a presentation on possible preparation for a renewed economic plan. A little background on this, I was able to do some digging and I found out that there were 2 proposals that were requested during the summer of 2020 from professional organizations to review and provide recommendations to the EDB structure. They were trying to determine, the utilities was trying to determine the best structure for the community and ensure the utilities investment for economic development provided and the best return for the community. Due to various reasons, these proposals never made it to the commission or EDB for review and consideration. So they do believe there was previous EDB budgets, maybe 21, that they did include funds to complete this review. So that being said, I guess I would like to have Rick come up and do his presentation.
Thank you, and what a full morning already, just being able to hear from local businesses and what's happening already here with the county. So my name is Rick Kinchy. I'm the Executive Director of Community Impact, and really looking to build and sustain a civic economic ecosystem. That's power-packed with each and every single word, so I'll try to unpack that a bit here this morning. I'd like to just kind of offer a quick overview, objectives and goals, some of our critical audiences, what I call seasonal rhythms, and a proposal. Essentially, it's to convene the stakeholders to ensure a continuum of economic care in the city, for the city, and with the city. So as we heard from the beginning from input from a local business, is to know where are the areas of strength where the city can really come in and serve a business owner, and where does the chamber come in and explore their strengths, when does an economic development corporation or other things come in, and a continuum of care so that a new business owner or existing kind of know who to tap at those integral moments of their business development. And so that's what I mean by a continuum of economic care. It accentuates each and every player, but at the same time, it really creates a cohesive team that greatly impacts communication in the city, for the city, and with the city. I do differentiate from a comprehensive plan. I've just been part of, I've incorporated our own village or township into a village. I've been on my own community's comprehensive plan team, and I just honestly can see the fact that it's a lot of money for a consultant to give a template. And a comprehensive plan to me represents a bulldozer. It can come in and take a landscape and make some quick difference where everybody can see what has happened. And then they leave. So I want to see something different than a comprehensive plan. So the cities already have the comprehensive plan. So it's not to come in and do another one or to even refresh it. It's to have what I would call a pinpointed, agile plan. What I mean by pinpointed is I see it much more as drilling than a bulldozer. I see it agile so that when you drill, there isn't necessarily a lot of difference people would necessarily notice, but it's because we're going deep into the plan and to be able to pull up and see if there's anything there. And if there is, great. And if there isn't, it's agile. We can go and maybe drill in another location in the city. And what I mean by location in the city is typically a place that the city already has a higher level of expense. So most notably police. Where in the community do we have a higher density of police incidences? Where in the city perhaps there's a school that the superintendent is having to pour extra resources in? There's a particular neighborhood where there's a higher density where county services are being utilized. These are high expense areas with a particular population that can be re-engaged or engaged in the economic development. And so that's what I mean by a pinpointed, agile plan. It's very specific in a drilling. It's agile in the fact that we can move based upon real-time feedback. So 3 objectives, a bunch of acronyms here for your alphabet soup, but GIS. Things that city and county already has, geographic information systems. So as the county is already displaying are these visual dashboards, taking a look at these demographic maps that are right-click availability for local businesses or for the city or for any other stakeholder. But a right-click, we can see all sorts of demographic layering and spatial movements, because even dormancy is a movement. I mean, there's none, but you can track regression, you can track advancement, you can track, and to be able to see that spatially in the form of what's called ArcGIS or ESRI, which is, again, available for counties and cities, and just making that pop and come to life specifically for the business community. Objective 2 is the EDC and a BID, so an Economic Development Corporation, or even corporations plural, and a business improvement district, things that are already accessible and available to cities to reduce costs, to increase business innovation, and for a generative business community. And what I mean by that is a business community, right? We already kind of have that just by being nature of having a business in Marshfield. But it's kind of like not just a Thanksgiving feast, it's almost like a queen and a king's royalty table. There is so much food on the banquet feast table that you can't see across the table. You look all the way down to the left, and all you see is a table full of food. You look all the way down to the right, and all you see is a table full of food. And it's just ready and available. But the only problem in a business community is the fact that there's no elbows. And what it creates is isolation, because you have everything at your disposal. But you're just trying to, how do I take in the goodness, right? And there's that frustration and then awkwardness, and ultimately it's the isolation. And so we work harder, or we scramble for more, but it's there. What I mean by a generative business community is I want you to imagine a similar banquet feast. The table is so full of food that you can't see across the table. You look all the way down to the left, there's all kinds of food. You look all the way down to the right, there's all kinds of food. And with a generative business community, there are no elbows, because you don't need them. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you see the bounty, and so you feed one another. A generative business community, or as the county just talked about, an economic ecosystem. We're here to feed one another, because there isn't as much competition as what people might think, because we're in it together. And so that then leads into the 3rd objective, a NID, neighborhood improvement districts. Again, very common for cities, but oftentimes underutilized. We must rally the citizenry. And I know people say, well, we tried that, or, I hear that. But I also know a lot of places that try to eat this way rather than serving. And I think that there's an opportunity to rally the citizenry if they knew how to participate. We'd have to also serve the schools, because these are not just children, but they're also our children. They're not just our children, maybe in biology, but they're also our children in our community who we desperately need to keep here locally to either inspire them as entrepreneurs, inspire them in the trades for existing businesses, and to be part of the greater ecosystem. So the whole idea is the fact that we need to serve the schools, but not just the Marshfield public schools, but also just the realities. Sorry. Okay. But to also be able to service the other feeder school districts who are already coming here to do their shopping and come here to throw their axes and to come and enjoy all that Marshfield is. And so to be able to see that in such a way, thank you so much. And I'll also make us available for everybody.
It won't show up on the screen.
Right.
You'll just have to.
No, I was just triggering my memory here and things like that. And I'll make this available to the chair to make available for the minutes and things.
Yep.
The three audiences, one is already pretty obvious. It'd be the government, it's already the county, the city, right? The second audience is also pretty familiar. It would be the Chamber of Commerce, Visitors Bureau. But it's really this third audience that actually is the priority, but a comprehensive plan never really wants to reach, but doesn't necessarily have the intentions and capacities to reach. And the third great audience is the existing business leaders, the entrepreneurs we do have, and the future ones we can inspire, the school districts, and even the taxpayers. And in order to do this, I really see this as rhythms, okay? So we live in Wisconsin with very distinct four, okay? So winter is just a great time. Actually, in agriculture, it's probably the time of the greatest enrichment is these winter season here for what it does with the soil and things and getting ready for next year. So don't mistake winter and things, but winter would also be a great time for policy review in order just to be able to see, or I should say governance review in order to see how we need to maybe realign resources for greater movement. So again, we're not creating anything new, it's just taking the assets that are already available, but creating a continuum. And to be able to do that governance review here in the winter months. And then in the spring, it's kind of getting ready, right? And what we really need is to hear from the business communities. We need to be able to go to each and to be able to listen and solicit their feedback based upon those governance priorities. So that then when it comes to the summer, we can come back to the city, we can come back to the county, and to showcase the feedback that has been received and to assess opportunities that already exist or tracking what has already been happening. And then the fall is a great season because it's all about back to school, and so it's the community engagement. It's aligning our relational resources, not just as ourselves as business owners, but our customers, and how do we engage them through pickleball or things like that, because again, it's a cohesive continuum of ecosystem. And so really it's just a matter of just being able to ask not to necessarily be the leader as much as to be the usher. So it's like at a wedding, right? I want the main event to be the main event. It's all about their day. Does that make sense? But there's still a role and a responsibility as an usher to be able to bring people to their respective places, to elevate their stature in order to create their voice, but to also find that portion in the community that we can drill down and find the treasures that may be mistaken because what we see is the truancy. Maybe we see the drugs or we see the other things, but to be able to see the individual as the opportunity and to be able to bring out their greatness or the collective greatness. And so with that, I just, maybe, again, I just hate being the word consultant because that's not really, maybe it's just my disdain and things like that, but just to be available to dig deeper, pinpoint, be agile, serve, however you might see fit. Questions?
Anybody have any questions for him? So the presentation, unfortunately, the computer's rebooting, so they're not able to get the Zoom people back on. And you guys aren't able to see the presentation or finish seeing the presentation that he's got on the computer.
We lost Ken and Kendra?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Technical.
Do they know that we hung up on?
They do.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
We're still here. Oh, they're still there. Okay. All right.
Good.
Good to hear you.
I think somehow I got made the presenter, and I don't know what I need to do to send it back, but Ken and I are still here.
Okay.
Oh,
Perfect.
good. So you could hear everything. That's good.
You said we could get the presentation set up to everyone after the fact.
Yeah, that's fine.
That was, Rick, that was a test of your presentation skills. That was intentional. We shut it off.
So whatever it takes, I do appreciate the coaching here from the chair, just to be able to have my memory right there, though, too.
I do have a question. How long have you been in your role consulting with Community Impact? Has it been around for a while?
Yeah, Community Impact has been around since 1988.
Okay.
Serving different communities. In this particular role, haven't. My role has really been in Milwaukee since the Sherman Park riots 6 years ago. And one of the things we heard on the next morning was the fact of, well, where the hell have you been?
Yeah.
And so the pain and the anger that erupted that night. So we've been really doing economic development in high disparity neighborhood in Sherman Park in Northside Milwaukee. But I've been working with Jody with Health and Human Services over here in Wood County and saying, you know, I know what's happening here in Milwaukee. I live in Appleton, and but I just think that the Heartland has similar opportunities. And Jody has been very gracious to kind of help navigate for what this could look like. And through those relationships, have spoken myself to the Madam Chair and to be able to present.
Okay, real good. Thanks. Again, I think it'd be something to check into once we have our new staff person involved.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Rick? Okay, thank you very much, Rick. Item number 12, report exploring the possible creation of a private economic development corporation. Myself and Steve, we had a chance to kind of talk about forming an economic development corporation. And Steve, I guess if you want to add, I mean, you had people come to you before with this in the past, Bill and other people, and you were positive to possibly do this, keep EDB going, and then develop this economic development corporation separately that can be a little bit more agile.
Yeah, I participated in a meeting with you and the city attorney and others looking at the possibility. This was discussed back when Bill Senholz was the chair of this body. The role that a private economic development corporation could play in the overall picture, being separate from city government, being able to get angel investors, venture capital, help bring deals together, interact with the city, but not be part of the city. So, we're doing some follow-up to see, what that might entail, what that might look like from cities that have been successful at that, and seeing if there's a role in that, for that here in Marshfield to help spur on more development.
And we'll have more of an update in January with it. We're just continuing that conversation. Any questions for us on that? Thank you, Steve. All right, item number 13, considering authorizing funding for WIDA membership and related training opportunities. So through these conversations to try to grow the economic development here in the city, I found out that we could be a member of WIDA, Wisconsin Economic Development Association. We currently aren't. It's $600. It includes 2 memberships. My thought was to have one person from here be a member and then one person from the chamber be a member. In WIDA as well, they also offer training for $900. It's a 4-hour training. They would come right here to Marshfield. And it's just training on economic development, how we can grow, some of the tools that we can utilize. I thought both of those things would be beneficial to elected officials as well as people in the community that are active in economic development. I think we would open it up to anybody that would be interested. So I did find out that the chamber has been paying a membership for WIDA, and there's been no communication with that. They haven't, they're kind of waiting on our decision if we would pay that $600 after I found out about it. And then it would be a person from us and a person from them that would go. That's what I wanted to discuss with you guys. Do you guys have any questions for me on it?
I seem to recall that we were a member at one point, and maybe it was just the chamber that I'm thinking of. So I guess I'm, it's not much money, but since we're already paying membership by way of chamber, can we just emphasize the utilization of that membership through the chamber?
They haven't paid for this next year. So I would like it to, so it doesn't get lost in translation. Like you said, maybe we were a member. I think it should be housed here. And then one person from here and one person from the chamber goes. So we're not losing that connection, because it is important, especially when we're exploring stuff with coin burner or other things. They're a good resource for us for different things.
Yeah, I can see it. Again, there's not much money, but we've got so many opportunities with economic development and this new staff person coming on soon. I'm just wondering if we could table or postpone this discussion until that new person is on board. I think we're probably looking at hopefully a month or two. We've got 26 candidates, and it looks pretty promising. So hopefully that person has a good head for economic development and can look at everything that we're doing as a community and maybe come up with a strategy that we can all buy into. We'd include it.
So it's a membership for a year, and then this person that we would hire would come in and obviously be able to just pick up and go from there.
Right. Yeah, again, it's not much money, but I think that if we're looking for a lead person in economic development, it'd be good to wait for that person to be on board. That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be an assistant city administrator and community development director. So that.
Any other discussion, Tom?
Thank you. I understand what you're saying, Russ. I guess I just don't want to lose sight of this. I want this to come back, Steve, when you get somebody on board. So let's make sure we bring this back then at the right particular time.
Okay.
And look at this. I think it's a worthwhile. But I tend to agree with you, Russ said. With the transition, it'd be probably best to wait a couple months. Yeah.
Any other discussion on that? What? So do we need to make a motion? Are you tabling this, or?
If it'll help, I'll make a motion to postpone and until let's say March.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, sounds good. We'll continue this discussion in March. Item number 14, project updates, if any. Steve, I'm glad to see your list has shrunk to just project updates. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. What I've been doing, is having this laundry list, and I look at some of these when I get ready, and there's not much happening in some of them, so why have 14 things on the agenda? So just kind of a brief update of what's happened. Starting with the 2024 budget, the council did approve it last week, and there were some changes. What came up at the end was an issue with revenue, where we had a loss of $340,000 in revenue toward the very end of the process, because we hadn't really thought about this, but the calculation of the pilot that we get from utilities is a payment in lieu of taxes. Part of that formula has to do with the municipal tax rate, which, because of the revaluation, is dropping significantly. The city's tax rate is dropping from 1058 per thousand of assessed value down to 786 because of the reval. So in that calculation, we actually lose about $340,000 of revenue. So we had to make some changes at the end. Looking at and I'll send this out to you when this meeting is over, the original budget to this body recommended for the council and what was finally adopted. The council did two things. First of all, they wanted to target money from the consulting dollars that we have in this budget toward Vanderwall for the 2nd Street redevelopment plan, which I think this body really wants to see move forward anyway. So the first phase of the Vanderwall plan is $27,000. So the money that was laid out as an economic development action plan, they wanted to put toward that. The other part of it was that left an additional $23,000 in consulting services. It wasn't named by us, and in order to make the picture balanced, we had to forego that. But if this body has, whether it's with Rick or somebody else, a desire to move forward and get consulting services to help move forward with an economic development plan, we can certainly tap into that 205 fund and request a budget resolution to make those monies move. We have $1 million, as we know, in the fund balance right now. So that was the changes. Everything else we kind of got through. The rest of the budget was exactly as adopted by this body with respect to facade grants, special projects, the contributions to Mackey Main Street, and the Wenzel Family Plaza. A couple other things to talk about briefly. I mentioned Vanderwall. We should get them going in early 2024. I have a contract that's going to the council on Tuesday night to approve for that. And the EDB will be part of this process along with CDA and council in terms of helping move this forward as we begin taking that plan that was adopted for the area west of Chestnut and Second, going for the post office to the west and start really digging into what could be putting the pieces in place for growth on that end of downtown. Two other quick things. One is the Weinbrenner plan. Some of us met with Weinbrenner officials up in Merrill, looked at their facility up there, took a tour and had a good meeting with them, following up with them to set a follow-up meeting here in the next week or two and keep that ball moving. It was a very positive tour and a very positive meeting with them. As their plans are coming together, we I think have some good opportunity to work with them. So I'll be bringing more to you on that. And then finally, I think Denise maybe will touch briefly on the certified sites process, which we're excited about getting the status with the WEDC for the new 120 acres that we got from UW. And that process is moving forward. And I'll just let you briefly touch on it. Unless would you prefer I touch on it? Oh, thank you. I'll take it. Really, what we really know at this point, I'm sorry, Denise, we talked about this before the meeting. My head is like full. We have submitted the application to WEDC, and that's good. It took a lot of work by consultants and staff working together. And we do expect them to approve that. And that will give us that status that when site selectors and developers are looking for a place to build in Wisconsin, we look shovel ready to them. They'll look toward us. That's really all I have. I take any questions. Sorry for talking quickly, but I know we're getting toward that part of the meeting.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you.
Item number 16, suggested items for upcoming agendas.
Do we have the...
Sorry.
Yeah, the economic development updates first.
Yes.
I'll give the one from Main Street. Kaylee Gomez is at another meeting in town. She did ask me to give a brief report. I'll do that. The Small Business Saturday Holiday Parade and Wine Walk were all last week and went well. Karen Isaacson, Debbie Bauer, and Karen Olson, who's not here, I believe, were honored as parade marshals. 3,000 people attended the event. For Small Business Saturday, 54 passports were submitted. 401 downtown locations were visited during that 5-hour period, which is pretty impressive. It did well. The Wine Walk businesses enjoyed increased sales and exposure to boost sales before the new year, which is so important to them as the year winds down. And then watch for a local holiday gift guide to be coming to your inboxes soon. Hard copies will be presented or be printed thanks to Visit Marshfield. So we thank you, Matt, and your team over there for working on that one with Main Street. Just a quick update from Main Street Marshfield.
Sounds good. Thank you. Any questions? All right, now 16, suggested items for upcoming agendas. Does anybody have any items that they'd like? Oh, sorry. What did I do? Oh, I'm like, what did I do? You have a suggested item? Okay.
So it just occurred to me. So we spent, I think, 3 months of, or there's a line item on our agenda for about 3 months this summer regarding the fair. And I'm just wondering, perhaps when those numbers do come in, if we could get a representative to come and talk about how it all turned out, and it sounded like it was on the verge of on a teeter-totter for a while, whatever the case might be, but it's interesting to hear what actually happened.
Sounds good. We'll get that on there.
Thank you. I'm the chairman of the Fair Commission, and we had a joint meeting with the Fair Association or whatever. Steve was there, and we got going, a little belly aching on both sides, but we came together. I think we're in a good position now. They came and met with us, the Fair Association did. We're going to have a joint meeting with them coming up. So the working relationship is there. The financials we've gotten, which we haven't gotten forever as far as I'm concerned. And they're very willing to give that to us. And we're in a good place, but we will get somebody here, Lyle, to talk about that. So, yeah, right.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that sometime in the next couple of months, I don't know that it'll be in January, but sometime in the next couple of months, you'll likely see item on the agenda, closed session to review possible developments in both District 14 and 13. Those are our mixed-use districts. We're looking at housing. One is at 21st and Washington area, and the other is up there in the Marwood Fleet Farm area. So again, I'm not promising that for January, but you'll be seeing something along those soon, I hope.
Any other items for the agenda? I'd like to see the pickleball added to the agenda. Okay. Pickleball? Yep. All right. Let's see. Announcement next meeting Thursday, January 4th, 7:30 here at the council chambers. And then adjourn. I have a motion and a second, and so moved. All right. Merry Christmas, everyone, and nice to see you all.
Thank you. You too.